Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days for today's second video. It takes into the start of February and we'll be able to extend out sort of a little bit beyond that with the GFS and the E7F ensembles, which runs around a couple of weeks. We'll also have a look at the Beijing Climate Center for the next 40 days as well for today's video, so a lot to cram in. But just to start us off, I want to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donors. So we've had a new donation through PayPal, so I've got to say a big thank you to Carl Gentleman. Carl Gentleman has become Gaz Weathervid's latest PayPal donor, so a big thank you to Carl for doing that. If you'd like to become a PayPal donor for Gaz Weathervids and have your name read out in the videos, then all you need to do is come to the gazweathervids.me PayPal page. On that page right now, sign into your PayPal account, and then very simply give a one-off donation to Gaz Weathervids. And because you are doing that, you'll be helping us to fund our website. So a big thank you to all of the PayPal donors for doing that. And of course, if you'd rather not have your name read out, that's absolutely fine. Just leave a little note with your donation to let us know that you'd rather not have an announcement in the video. We'll say something like thank you to this anonymous donor, so you'll know who you are, know who you are, but you won't actually have your name read out. A few people have chosen to do that, and it's absolutely fine if that's how you'd like to do it. But otherwise, you'll get a shout out in the videos, and we'll say thank you very much. And again, big thank you to all the PayPal donors. Special thank you to Carl Gentleman for becoming Gaz Weathervid's latest PayPal donor. There's also, of course, patrons. So this is Gaz Weathervid's Patreon page. We've got 60 patrons so far. Big thank you. Special hello and a big thank you to all of the patrons for Gaz Weathervids. If you'd like to become a patron of Gaz Weathervids, all you need to do is come to the Gaz Weathervids Patreon page, and we link to both PayPal and Patreon in the description of YouTube and on the page of Gaz Weathervids. Just come here, sign up for a Patreon account, and you can give an ongoing donate. So the idea is that PayPal is kind of like one-off, Patreon is ongoing, but of course you can cancel at any time. Big thank you to all of the patrons. Big thank you to all of the PayPal donors. You're helping us to fund Gaz Weathervids, so thanks so much for doing that. Got a few pictures to share with you. So this one was shared with us on Facebook by Nicholas Chamberlain. This was snow last night. I assume it's last night. In Swansea, so snow underneath the lamppost, and it looks like Nicholas was doing some lamppost watching. So snow in Swansea down in the south of Wales there. And this one is, I think this was from Edward Crisp. It's snow in Oxfordshire yesterday. Looks like it was a wintry afternoon down in Oxfordshire there, where Edward is. And again, we've got Mark Canish in the Wirral, snow laying there outside Mark's house. So again, pretty wintry night underneath the lamppost. Looks like there was a bit of snow falling up in the Wirral last night. And this one is from Peter Napolina, and it's from Stratford upon Avon. And again, snow last night up there in Stratford upon Avon, laying on the drive and looking like a proper wintry sort of night. These are our first real snowfalls of the winter, of course, but probably, I would think, not our last. I think we'll have more to come. A few of these snow pics have been shared with us on Twitter as well, so I'll just talk you through some of those. We've got Yorkshire Coast Radio here with a bit of a wintry looking picture there up in Yorkshire. Then we've got this one, which has been shared by Paul Middleton. And I'm not sure where Paul is, but today's melting snow under the warm glow of the street light under the watchful eye of the moon. So got a pretty nice selection of pictures there as the snow is laying in the garden underneath moonlight. Carry on down, we've got Julian Evans, who tweeted these pictures showing snow in South Wales as well. That one is a video from St Albans. There's some pretty big flakes of snow falling in St Albans. That one's by SDT at Tuckmeister. We've got another one there. I'm not sure where this one is. It's in North London by Amen 03. And again, pretty wintry looking night. That one is from Doug E. Brown. Snow down to sea level. Again, not sure where that is. Possibly it might be Liverpool, but I'm not sure where that one is. But pretty deep snow there. We've got Owen Griffiths in Oxford. Looks like Oxford had a real covering of snow yesterday, doesn't it? So again, Owen tweeted that one. Pretty deep snow cover there. Just carry on, show you a few more. That's snow again, Abingdon, Oxfordshire, from David Murden. Picture from David showing snow laying in Oxfordshire yesterday afternoon. Looks like Oxfordshire was one of the most hit areas. That video is from Severe Weather 2009. It snowed yesterday afternoon at the Cat and Fiddle pub in Cheshire. Looks like it's a really wintry afternoon up there. I think that's quite high up at elevation, but it looks like the snow was actually drifting and blowing around a little bit. This one's from our good friend Brian at theweatheroutlook.com. He had a little bit of snow in the Chilterns. That's early in the afternoon. I bet there was a bit more snow than that laying by the end of the afternoon. So that one is from Snowby, and I think that is somewhere over in the Republic of Ireland, or possibly in Northern Ireland. Some snow laying pretty thick there. So thanks to everybody for showing their pictures and sending them through to us. If you would like to have your pictures featured in the videos, there are various ways you can do it. You can email them to us at gazoffice@gmail.com. You can share them on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and we link to both of those in the description at YouTube and on all of the pages at Gazovids. And you can share them in the comment box at Gazovids as well. When we've got time, we're always happy to feature pictures in the videos. Big thanks to everybody sending their pictures through. And as I say, these are just the first snowfalls of the winter, really. I think there is more to come, so I suspect we'll be sharing more snow pics over the next few weeks. Right, so we'll start off the video with the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart then. So the black line here tells us where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation, and the red lines at the end tell us where the Arctic Oscillation is being forecast to go. Remember, the Arctic Oscillation is just an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere over North Pole. It's not driving anything, just tells you what the atmosphere is doing. When the Arctic Oscillation is in its positive phase, then you have low pressure up over North Pole. When the Arctic Oscillation is in its negative phase, and you'll have high pressure over North Pole. At the moment, the Arctic Oscillation is kind of like weakly negative, and the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to trend increasingly negative as we're moving into the early part of February. So it does look as though blocking high pressure over pole is going to become more and more pronounced over the next couple of weeks, and this is how we push cold air out of the pole and down into the mid-latitude. So from an Arctic Oscillation perspective, it still looks like we're trending increasingly towards high pressure and increasingly towards northern blocking as well. This is the NAO observed and forecast chart. It's the same idea. The black line shows where we've been with the NAO, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecast for the NAO to go. Now, this is really, really confusing what's happening, because at the moment the NAO is weakly positive. It's going to go a little bit negative in the next week or so, but then you'll notice the GFS ensembles, other than this member just here, which is an outlier, GFS ensembles are turning the NAO increasingly positive as we move through the first week of February. So we've got a strengthening negative AO signal at the same time as a strengthening positive NAO signal. This is a real fight, therefore, that's going to be taking place within the atmosphere between the Arctic, that is going to be going increasingly towards a blocked type setup with high pressure, and the North Atlantic, which looks like it's going to try and strengthen the westerlies. When the NAO starts going into this sort of very positive territory that we see just here, that's kind of like an indication that the westerlies are really trying to strengthen up, power up, with low pressure strengthening around Iceland and high pressure strengthening around the Azores. And of course, the contrast between the high pressure in the Azores and the low pressure in Iceland produces a strong westerly zonal flow. So they're at odds with one another. They have been at odds with one another for a lot of this winter, actually. You can see, but generally the NAO has been in its positive phase overall this winter, whereas the NAO has tended to, at least at times, have more negativity. But they're going to be even more at odds by the look of it in the next couple of weeks, particularly as we get through to the first week of February. So it's going to be a case of irresistible force meets a movable object. I think it's going to be a strong blocking signal, but at the same time, the Atlantic does not want to ease its foot off the gas. If anything, it wants to power up by the look of it as we go through into the start of February. So what we make of that, I don't know. It's going to be a very confused couple of weeks, to say the least. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. Looking at Newport in the Isle of Wight today. Now, I said yesterday that we're getting through the list of places, so you can start suggesting where you'd like to see for this section of the video in terms of your the ensemble for your sort of local town or city. Again, huge response, so we're full up once more. The list is well and truly full up. I think we've got around another 3 weeks worth of entries to go at now. So again, when we get through that list, I'll let you know, and you'll be able to start making suggestions for where you'd like to see once again. But for the moment, big thanks to all of you for suggesting your towns and cities, and we are well and truly full up with our list of locations. So it's Newport in the Isle of Wight, down in the Channel, of course, today. And the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Newport. So we're starting off cold at the moment. Our first shot of proper cold air of the winter is with us just for the next day or so. But it is going to go milder at the end of the week, Friday through to Saturday. Sees the temperature lifting up only temporarily, though. And then we're falling away, becoming cold over the weekend. And then through next week, it looks like we're keeping those temperatures pretty cold as well, trending underneath the average. Not going down into freezer-type level cold. We're not going down to between -10 and -15 at 850 HPA. But certainly going down to a level that is cold enough for snow. And I think next week could be showing an increasingly wintry sign, to be honest. So looks like we're in for some more snow through the course of next week. You can see that from precipitation, because a lot of dry weather over the next couple of days. But from the weekend into next week, it looks quite unsettled. As it's unsettled, it's also trending cold again. So it does look as though we're in for not only rain, but possibly sleet and snow as well. So cold times to come, perhaps. This is a temperature anomaly going from the 23rd through to the 31st of January, and it's coming out colder than average for the UK and Ireland. Most parts of Europe looking really cold as well. It's warm in the southeast Europe, or mild in the southeast Europe, around the Black Sea, going down towards Greece. It's milder than average there. But out in the central, northern, western parts of Europe, it's cold, very cold. Over Scandinavia, we're kind of like 8 to 10 degrees below average. I know we do have people watching in Scandinavia, always telling me about how very mild it is, but I think in this instance, in this coming week, it's going to be cold enough up there, definitely. Looks really, really bitter for Norway, for Sweden, and all of those Baltic areas. Moving down into Central Europe, it's colder than average in France and Germany. And for the UK and Ireland, well, Ireland actually is close to average, but for the UK, it is coming out a little bit cold and average. Again, we're not talking about deep freeze cold at this stage. We're talking about sort of a degree to 2 degrees below average. So not as cold as it is further east, but nevertheless, it's a below average week coming up. And of course, that encompasses the milder couple of days that we're going to have on Friday and into Saturday. Once we get that out of the way, these charts will probably trend even colder. Temperature, precipitation anomalies look like that from the 23rd through to the 31st of January, a little bit drier than average. So we still can't shake off these drier than average conditions, can we? Despite the fact there's a relatively unsettled flavour to the weather, the anomalies are still coming out relatively dry, which is perhaps something that we haven't focused on a lot this winter, but it has, as well as being quite mild up to now this winter, it has also been a very dry winter overall, and that follows a very dry summer. Some of that was almost a drought through particularly May to July, and then a dry autumn. So we've had a very long, prolonged sort of dry spell of weather. It's carrying on into the winter, almost unforeseen, almost sort of under the radar. It's not really getting a lot of attention, but it is carrying on into the winter, and quite what this means for the coming summer of 2019 remains to be seen. But obviously we are running a big rainfall or precipitation deficit, and we're not really making up from the very dry summer that we have. So if we was to have another hot and dry summer, then things could get a little bit critical. But of course that's a big if, because as we remember from 2012, when we went through a prolonged dry spell of weather, the drought then actually broke in the spring and in the summer itself. So maybe we'll see something like that this year. We'll just have to wait and see. This is how the latest GFS is looking. This 6 o'clock run of the GFS, although as you're watching this, the midday run of the GFS will probably be trickling out. So this is on Saturday. We're bringing in a relatively mild westerly wind to start with on Saturday, but we've got this active cold front that's plunging down from the northwest, and behind it, it's introducing cold Arctic air from the north. Now that might give a little bit of snow on the back edge of that cold front, but as it clears away, it'll open the door to much colder northerly winds. So Sunday will be a bitterly cold day with a strong to gale force northerly wind blowing, and that's going to bring snow showers to northern and eastern parts of the country. Stays cold into the start of next week. Then we get this area of low pressure moving in from the northwest. So mainly dry but cold on Monday. Then low pressure is moving into that cold air on Tuesday. I have to look at the exact parameters within the atmosphere closer to the time. This could bring rain, sleet or snow into many parts of the country. And then this low pressure moves down the North Sea and pulls the northerly winds back in again by the middle of next week. So this is a week away, Wednesday the 30th of January. It looks like we're pulling these cold northerly winds back in once more. And then we go to more extended range and it stays cold, start to pull in sort of northerly to northeasterly winds. They could bring snow showers into northern and eastern parts of the country. We're at day 10 and it's still looking cold. We've got wind in from the northeast, high pressure out to the northwest, low pressure is to our southeast, centred somewhere around the Low Countries and Germany, so more snow showers could well be pushing into northern and eastern parts of the country on those northeasterly winds. The 6 o'clock run of the GFS then keeps it cold as we go into extended range. High pressure remains out to the north and west of the UK. A trough of low pressure is sitting over many central and western parts of Europe. The jet stream is digging down a long way south. The black line shows where the jet stream is going into sort of North Africa there. So we are very much on the cold side of the jet stream, and with those areas of low pressure continue to pivot around the country, you can expect wintry conditions at times. By the end of the GFS run, it's having a go at building some high pressure over Scandinavia, turning the wind into the east. The parallel GFS run is looking like that. So again, we've got these northerly winds plunging down across the country over the weekend. They'll bring snow with them to northern and eastern parts of the country on Sunday. Into the early part of next week, dry and cold for Monday. Then low pressure comes in from the northwest on Tuesday. That might produce a snow event. We'll have to wait and see. That low pressure then dives southwards. So there's the position of the low with parallel GFS run on Tuesday. It's close to Iceland. By the time you go through to Wednesday, that low pressure is diving down over the UK. It's just there. So when low pressure starts doing something like that, you know that the atmosphere is behaving very abnormally, because normally the low pressures try to go in that direction. They'll try to go from like Canada over here to south of Greenland there to Iceland there and into Scandinavia. Just there. That's the normal direction. So when low pressure starts sort of uncoupling itself from Iceland and Greenland and pushing down into western and central parts of Europe, you know that something strange is going on with the atmosphere. So this low pressure starts to sink down over the country through the middle of next week, turns the wind into this cold east-northeasterly again. This is kind of like the scenario we were supposed to have this week, but it's been pushed back to next week. And this will bring in snow showers, maybe even longer spells of snow to southern and eastern parts of the country. We get up towards day 10, still looking pretty cold, still in those northeasterly winds, so cold and wintry through to the end of next week into the start of February. In the more extended range, the Atlantic looks like it's powering up. Look at all these purple colours that we've got here around Greenland and Iceland. That could well be in association with what we saw with the NAO going into positive territory. But at the same time, high pressure is building over Scandinavia, or trying to build over Scandinavia. So that's a real battle taking place within the atmosphere. That's how we finish up with the parallel GFS run. We've got high pressure and very cold air to our northeast. These low pressures are being blocked over the UK, possibly bringing rain, possibly bringing something a little bit more wintry. It's a very long way out. That's the 8th of February. ECMWF, again, we're pulling down those cold northerly winds after a milder day, or a milder start to Saturday. Cold northerly winds return, and we keep it cold into the start of next week. Then this low pressure pushes in from the northwest on Tuesday. That low pressure then sinking southwards, not quite as quickly as the GFS sinks it southwards, but nevertheless it's the same idea. This low pressure eventually moving to the south of the UK and starting to pull in these cold northeasterly winds once again. So all models are in agreement that next week looks pretty wintry, pretty cold, pretty wintry. We've just got to wait and firm up on the detail of that. The built ensembles from the ECMWF are looking like that. Actually, the ECM operational run, which is this red line, was a bit of a mild outlier right at the very end. So perhaps most of those ensemble members are a little bit quicker in moving that low pressure through the UK and taking it away to our south and then putting in those colder easterly winds. Maybe a lot of the ECM ensemble members do it more quickly. You can see that the general trend from the ECM ensembles is quite cold, starting off cold just there, going a bit milder for a few days, couple of days, Friday, Saturday, but then generally trending quite cold. That's 0 degrees there, generally trending close to that that temperature pretty much throughout the ensemble, really, once we get Friday, Saturday out of the way. This black dash line, that is the ECM control run. Looks like that really did go into the freezer today, and it's sort of sub-zero maxima with severe night frost as well with that control member of the ECM ensembles. The way the postage stamps are looking from the ECM ensembles is looking like this. So this from the Icelandic Met Office. This is how things look at day 10 on the 2nd of February. So we've got 28 members, including the control ECM run that has this ridge in the middle of the Atlantic and pushes it up towards Iceland and Greenland with the trough of low pressure to our south. They're pulling in cold east or northeasterly winds, or possibly northerly winds, but certainly they're cold ensemble members. Then we've got number 23, which includes the operational run, that slightly milder run we was just looking at, but are just a little bit more northerly with the trough of low pressure. So they're kind of like more centred over the country with the ridge up to the northwest, but not as strong, not as much of a ridge. So that's why they're taking longer to push that low pressure to our south. It's almost a 50-50 split, but just a little bit in favour of the colder members there, these 28 versus those 23. If we go through to 2 weeks away, these are the options that are on the table, and you'll see the reason the control ECM run was in the freezer. So we've got 15 ensemble members at 336 hours, which is the 6th of February, looking like that. They've got low pressure sort of centred over the country. They have got a bit of a blocking signal over Greenland, but generally these are still keeping wind in from off the Atlantic, these 15. They've got another 15 though, including the control ECM control run, and this is the reason it was in the freezer. It's because they build high pressure up over Scandinavia. You see this red area up here, they're bringing in bitterly cold easterly winds, so that's the reason the control run went into the freezer in its extended range this morning. It produced a Scandinavian high and pulled in easterly winds. Got another 12 that again have this mid-Atlantic ridge powering up towards Iceland and Greenland. Again, they're cold. They're bringing in the east or northeasterly winds on the 6th of February. And then we've got another 9, however, that have high pressure out to our west, and they're a milder option. They're a drier option, but they're a milder option with the wind coming in from off the Atlantic. So we've got 15 that are relatively mild there, and another 9 that are relatively mild there that go with them. So that takes us to 24. Then we've got 15 that are much colder, and they're followed by another 12. So that takes us to 27. So just slightly in favour with the ECM ensembles of a colder outlook in a couple of weeks' time and a more blocked outlook. But there's not a lot in it actually, so it's a little bit to be determined, I think, whether we do get this northern blocking again as we go through the first week of February. Certainly February's going to start off quite cold and wintry, but we'll have to wait and see just how much blocking we get. Finally, the Beijing Climate Center next 40 days. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period will take us from the 26th of January to the 4th of February. Trough of below average heights is over and to the south of the UK. Got a ridge in the middle of the Atlantic. We're on the cold side of a jet stream. That looks cold and unsettled with high pressure over there, sort of bringing in easterly flow and cold air into much of Europe. It looks cold and unsettled there for the rest of January and into the start of February. The next 10-day period is the 5th through to the 14th of February, with below average heights over to the south of the UK, blocking up to the north, a ridge in the middle of the Atlantic. Again, we're on the cold side of a jet and that trough of low pressure, so pretty cold and wintry, I think, through the first half of February. Then we go through to the 15th to the 24th of February with a ridge then in the North Atlantic and moving up towards Greenland and Iceland. Low pressure is to the south of the UK. That keeps things cold. The Beijing Climate Center is keeping us cold through much of February. I think cold and wintry into the second half of February with that, and then finally, it's how things look as we move into the beginning of March. So this is going from the 25th of February to the 6th of March. Below average height still over and to the south of the UK. Still a blocking signal up to the north, and you would still be favouring bringing cold air from the northeast. It looks like the Beijing Climate Center is setting up a prolonged, possibly even a very prolonged cold spell of weather. Now, of course, that's experimental, and we know we've got uncertainty in the next sort of couple of weeks, so don't necessarily want to be too over the top with that. But certainly, the Beijing Climate Center is seeing pretty cold times to come through to the beginning of March and February. I think if that came off, would be quite a notably cold and wintry month. Anyway, that's experimental. Coming back to the next week to 10 days, we've got cold weather now. It's going to go a little bit less cold at the end of the week and into the start of the weekend. Then the cold northerly winds return on Saturday afternoon and into Sunday. That takes us into what looks like quite a cold and wintry week next week. There will be snow opportunities again next week, I would have thought. And then we're through to the beginning of February, and we've just got to wait and see how much northern blocking we get. The Arctic Oscillation is trending very negative through the first week of February, but at the same time, the North Atlantic Oscillation is going increasingly positive. So the blocking signal is going to strengthen, but so too, it looks like will the westerlies, will the Atlantic signal, and what happens there really is anyone's guess. So watch this space to see what's going to happen for the start of February. Right, don't forget to check out 5-day forecast if you haven't yet done so. Tomorrow we're going to have another week to 10-day video update, and I'll bring you up to date with the latest JMA seasonal model. That is going to cover February, March and April. That's ahead of the first spring seasonal model roundup that's going to be released on Sunday. We haven't done any long range updates for the spring this year, and I'll explain the reason why when we do that seasonal model roundup for spring 2019. That's going to be on Sunday, but tomorrow I'll bring you up to date with the JMA for February, March and April, as well as your regular week to 10-day video update. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.